In this video, we'll be installing the Komplete suite of Native Instruments software. We'll first launch Safari and go to native-instruments.com. If you haven't already created an account, you'll want to do that. I'm going to log into my existing account here. So with the native ID, we can access all of the products that we're entitled to. Even if you haven't purchased any Native Instruments hardware or software, you can still get quite a pack of software, instruments, and tools that you can get started with. Under Products, then you're going to want to look for Komplete Start. So click on Komplete Start. And then you're going to want to click for free download and get Komplete Start. Once you do that, all of the applications and sounds that you are entitled to in this free bundle are available in the Native Access application. So that's how we'll actually install it. After installing, you're going to also want to come back to this quick start guide, and that will give you documentation that you can use and read. So I'm going to go to support, and I'm going to select downloads under quick links. Then I'm going to download for Mac Native Access. Native Access is an application that stores all of the different Native Instrument software applications and updates. So it's a lot like your Windows update if you have Microsoft software, or it's like the App Store from Apple. That's downloaded, so we're going to take the DMG, which is a disk image, double click, and that will extract it. So that volume, which is the installer, now shows on our desktop. So we're going to go ahead and drag that to our applications here. Maybe I'm going to just do it from here. Then we'll double click to launch and open. You'll need to authenticate in order to install. Give it access to downloads folder. Now we're going to start update process. I'm going to again log in with my native ID. So it'll say no products installed yet. I'm going to select not installed. That will show all of the applications that I'm entitled to. So you'll see a lot of these available even if you haven't purchased any hardware or software. I have purchased Native Instruments DJ controller, so I also see the Traktor Pro software in there. I'm going to go ahead and just click on install all, but first I'm going to allow notifications, and I'm going to close a couple windows here. I like to make sure that other applications in the background are closed so that I don't get any conflicts. Sometimes it'll also mean that you no longer have to reboot your computer if you quit other applications. I'm going to also maximize the window here so you can see all the different applications And here is where you can customize the folders where the software goes. If you're getting low on disk space, you may want to change these locations to an external hard drive path. I've got plenty of storage on this MacBook Pro, so I'm going to accept the defaults for the software installations. And we'll hit confirm to install. So while that's installing, there's a number of different applications that are available to us. And so I'll go through each of those applications. So the first one is called Blocks Bass. Blocks Bass runs inside Reactor Player, and this is everything you need to start exploring a modular synthesis. So it's included free with Complete Start. Expansions selection are a list of various sounds and samples. There are some included free, but as you purchase the Complete software, you get access to more packs. So they're genre specific, and they're going to work with a range of Native Instruments products. So you can also use any of these expansions in any DAW or digital audio workstation. Usually they'll collaborate with top artists and sound designers, and they'll load these with samples, tempo-based construction loops. You'll see drum kits in there that work with some products including battery and machine, but also you'll see custom presets that work with Complete and machine. If you own a machine, you'll also get access to FX chains and edible patterns, plus drum synth and bass synth presets. Guitar Rig 5 factory selection includes a number of different sounds. This will work for your guitar or bass guitar. So in software, it replaces physical amps or physical cabinets. You can add different effects. With the software, you can do tone shaping, position mics. While that's downloading, I'll tell you what my approach has been for native access. I first found their free iPad application for DJing, and then I purchased a DJ controller. Once I did that, they gave me access to more software. And now I'm getting familiar with a lot of these tools that they have for free. You can buy the software and the instruments and the packs individually, or you can buy them in bundles. So my plan is I'm going to download the Complete Start kit that has 2,000 sounds from synths, instruments, and then I think what I'll do once I get familiar with a lot of these tools, then I want to buy the Complete 12. So it's Complete with a K, version 12. And this is a production suite with more than 50 instruments and effects. And it has a massive 220 gigabytes library of samples and sounds and instruments. And a full version of that is $599. So once I use the Complete 12 and I get comfortable on that, who knows, maybe they'll come up with a new Complete version, like a new series number. They may or may not. But then at some point, if I like what I'm finding with Complete 12, then there's the option of upgrading to Complete 12 Ultimate. So that library has more than 100 instruments, so double the number of instruments from 50, over 20 expansions, so that's double from the 10, and its library is 600 gigabytes. So I should be able to update from Complete 12 at the price of $399. So depending on how long it takes for us here at OHLR Music to get familiar with all the software, and depending on how much we use it, we'll either upgrade to the current 12 Complete, 12 Ultimate, or we may find that Native Instruments comes up with a product release at a later date, and hopefully we can upgrade to the new version at the upgrade price. Some of the software licensing from some of the vendors can be kind of complicated, and so you don't want to overpay. And also, some of the software you can buy through a network of dealers or resellers. So you can buy it direct from their webpage, but in some cases you can buy it from a third party. The other thing to consider when you're buying software is that a lot of the manufacturers make software and hardware, and they'll often throw in the software with a hardware bundle. They also offer tighter integration with their hardware with the software. So things like buttons, knobs have better integration across certain manufacturers. So it can be quite overwhelming looking at the hundreds of different models and dozens of different manufacturers of keyboards and controllers. But if you stick within a particular manufacturer, then there's a bit of tighter integration, similar to how Apple makes the operating system and they make the hardware. So the other approach that we're thinking about doing is, instead of maybe just buying the software pack, maybe we also buy a keyboard. For example, the Complete Control S61MK2 has the software with it. There's a certain level of keyboards that Native Instruments sells that do not have the software bundled. And then on the higher end models, they do have the software bundled. So we may get the 88 keyboard, we might get the 49 keyboard, or the 61. There's a number of different places where we've been buying our hardware and software. You can buy directly from the vendor on their website. You can also buy it a lot of times through Amazon. Some of our favorite online retailers for buying music instruments, accessories is Musician's Friend. Another one that we like is Sweetwater, and also Guitar Center. And by shopping across all of those different web pages, you can compare prices. One of the tricks we found to getting really good deals, these vendors all have great Black Friday deals all throughout November, December. That seems to be the best time to make your purchases. So in kind of figuring out our workflow, in learning a lot of these software and hardware tools, I think that we're going to try to time a lot of our purchases around Black Friday. One example is that when we were looking at buying Ableton Live, we could have bought it directly from Ableton, but we actually bought it on a Black Friday sale through Musician's Friend online. And since they're an authorized retailer, we got the official software, with the license keys, all of that. But we also got a discounted deal on musiciansfriend.com on their Black Fridays. So there's not really one best place to buy it, but if you have an existing retailer, or you might have a local music store where you do business, they may be an authorized reseller. And there's probably not one right answer. It's just whatever you're comfortable with and whatever's in your budget. Kinetic Treats is billed as a vintage sonic toy box. They've taken sounds from children's toys, and there are 35 themed sound sets with 600 snapshots. So there are 200 individually recorded sound sources. It's an interesting app. This can potentially allow us to add some really creative sounds into our tracks. So you use it with Kontakt Player or with Kontakt. The library is up to 3.5 gigabytes. So if this is something that we like, we'll pull down more sounds. There are sounds from robotic dancing, a ballet studio, and child's play, they call it. There are sounds that range from clockwork robots, train sets, Bunsen burners, ping pong balls, pinball machines, popcorn. Komplete Control is an integration hub. So it'll take all your instruments, effects, loops, and samples and integrates it with one powerful free plugin. So you can browse and tweak and preview all your sounds. You can play hundreds of scales, chords, arpeggios, and more with the Smart Play. And it'll map everything to Komplete Control keyboards. And you can also set it up with other keyboards as well and other controllers. So it's going to help us to clean up the workflow and provide better organization across a lot of the different instruments and effects, presets, loops, and samples. It'll help us map from our software to our hardware. And it's a free plugin. It'll also run in any DAW. And it'll work seamlessly with any MIDI controller. Music instrument digital interface is MIDI, so that's a communication protocol between your software on the laptop and then the physical hardware. MIDI used to have its own set of cables, but increasingly people just run MIDI now over USB. So there's over 750 other plugins from different creators that also work with Komplete Control. So these other creators are like Waves, Spitfire Audio, Softtube, Output, Arturia. And it uses Native Instruments Extended Plugin Format, which is NKS. Stands for Native Control Standard. And since this is out of Germany, they're using the German spelling for a lot of these words. So K for control instead of a C in English. Kontakt 6 Player is a free sample player based on Kontakt 6. So it can host native instruments and third-party instruments. So there's a wide range of instruments available from native instruments. All of these can be played inside of the Kontakt 6 player. Some of the different instruments available include orchestral and strings, synthesizers, drums, percussion, piano and keyboard, loops, bass and guitar, world and ethnic instruments, vocal and choir, woodwind and brass, organ, special instruments and effects, construction kits, and impulses. Kontakt Factory Selection contains a number of different products and sounds, as well as a library of instruments and effects. And some of the more popular instruments available is Massive. Massive is a synthesizer. Monarch, which is an analog monosynth. Drum Lab, which is a drum laboratory. Essentially, if you were to buy all of these different instruments in their original form, you could spend hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. And today, all of those instruments, or many of them, have been sampled, and for mere hundreds of dollars or even for free, you can get access to all of these different instruments. Obviously, they're going to be samples, but you can recreate so many infinite possibilities of sounds now, which is very different than how bands and musicians used to work. You used to have to decide what your sound was and maybe invest in a particular synth or in a particular instrument. You might have a particular rack that had exact instruments or exact equipment that created that special sound. And now you can essentially create virtually any sound you want with the DAW or the digital audio workstation, and with these virtual instruments, and with the sound libraries. One of the things you'll see a lot are VST plugins. These are audio plugins. It's a technology called Virtual Studio Technology, and this was developed by Steinberg back in 1996, and they also released it with their digital audio workstation software called Steinberg Cubase. But it has become an industry standard, so you can plug in VST instruments, effects, MIDI effects into just about any software, whether you're using Ableton Live or Adobe Audition, FL Studio, Logic Pro from Apple, Native Instruments Machine, Reason. So those are some of the digital audio workstations that we've looked at as we're trying to figure out exactly what we want to work on a day-to-day basis. Micro Prism is a fully playable instrument it's described as having a range of brilliant sounds. It's based on the Reactor Prism synthesizer. Play Series Selection has streamlined versions of 3 different hybrid instruments: Analog Dreams, Ethereal Earth, and Hybrid Keys. This has quite a big library. It looks like 1.6 gigabytes. ROM is a reverb tool, so you can take abstract echoes, you can do space-time bending ambience, and you have control over modulation, diffusion, and feedback. So now that we've got most of the large installs done, the remaining installs should move pretty quick here. Reactor 6 Player is a player for all Reactor-based instruments and effects. There's blocks-based 24 synthesis and utility modules. There are also 35 modular racks. Reactor Player has an engine that hosts synthesizers and effects. So Reactor instruments that are built by Native Instruments and other partners need an instrument to run. So by installing Reactor Player first, then you're good to go in using all of these other instruments. So a little more info on blocks. There's a virtual patching system, like a modular rig. So if you can imagine physically patching cables together, you can do that in a virtual way. So with modular synthesis, there's a number of blocks available. So you build these synthesizers with these building blocks. So some of those building blocks are audio I/O, which is input output, MIDI in, oscillators, ADSR envelopes, and also low-high pass filters. So there will be color-coded cables that you can use, and you create your own unique synthesizers. You can also connect external hardware, and blocks can play with your hardware modules. There's going to be different preset racks to play, build, or experiment with. Reactor Factory Selection R2 includes 4 different VST instruments, and there are also 200 free sounds with that. Supercharger is a tube compressor, and it helps you create the sound described as white hot of tube compression. There's also saturation and character controls, so this allows you to shape your sound. Well, this is interesting. It has skipped over to TRK101 bass. So that's a bass engine, and it's extracted from TRK01. So it's going to be described as consistent and huge sounding low end. Traktor DJ2 is easy to use DJ software. It allows you to create mixing across 2 decks. There are re-edit tools, effects, and it also integrates with a SoundCloud Go Plus account. Traktor Pro 3 is a 4-deck DJ software. It's got pro-grade audio. There's time stretching. It'll integrate with Traktor hardware. Native Instruments has been making DJ software for about 20 years now. And there's been a number of improvements in Traktor Pro 3. Some of the new features are the user interface. It's been overhauled for extra clarity. You can see everything you need to at a glance. There are parallel waveforms and new metering, so you can gain your mix with visual feedback. There's also new mixer functions, FX. So this allows you to do 1 knob modulation. There are 8 extra effects and 3 new filters that you can assign to each channel. You can also scratch with any sound cards. Traktor Scratch is included. So if you have timecode vinyl, you can use any sound card that you'd like. Native Access and Native Instrument software is really something that every musician should consider installing. The company is located in Berlin, Germany, and they have offices worldwide in LA, Tokyo, Paris, Shenzhen, London. So in 1996, Steven Schmidt and Volker Hins founded this company, and they have grown to about 500 employees today. And one of their first early products was Generator, which is a modular synth. And that later became the foundation of their main software program, Reactor. And since then, they've expanded to include a lot of different samplers, keyboards, DJ equipment, and a wide range of sample libraries, virtual instruments, effects plugins. What I really like about Native Instruments is that they give you a large sampling of tools absolutely free. So this allows you to figure out how to start using the software, how to integrate it into your workflow. And then from there, they give you the option, if you want to buy things a la carte, you can do that. Or if you want to buy them in packages, that's available as well. So I think it's really something that every musician and music producer should look at adding to your library. And I hope to continue to learn more about Native Instruments and all of their different software tools and share tips and tricks with you. So if you like the video, please like it. Please subscribe to our channel. All Native Instruments software applications are installed. So we'll quit Native Access. And we now have a folder, Native Instruments, and within there we'll have access to each of the applications that were installed. So if you'd like, you can take each of your apps and you can drag them to your dock for quick access. And that's it. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to OHLR Music. See you in the next video.